Welcome back to another episode of How to Become an Obstacle Buster. I'm your host, Warren Wandling, the show that's dedicated helping leaders to overcome obstacles, build resilience, and achieve success. And I have a great guest to help us do just that, Matt Granados. Welcome to the show, Matt.
Hey, appreciate you having me on. Really
Yeah,
excited to
I'm
be here and talk.
I'm really excited to our conversation. You have such a unique background. I'm really interested in reference to understanding kind of your point of view, helping our leaders to break through those obstacles.
Yeah, absolutely. Love it.
So, as the founder of Life Pulse, where you've coached leaders in Google and the US military using a methodology called Perpetual Development, you're also a two-time best-selling author. Share with our listeners, if you would, some more details around your business.
Yeah, so Life Pulse specifically, the easiest way to understand what we do is we help individuals and organizations maximize the results with their current resources. So what we've come to find is the average person's only operating about 40% of their ability. Now they think they're maxing out, but they're not. So what we do is we show them how to remove the roadblocks or the obstacles and give them systems and tools to get the mindset right and have the system and structure behind it to get up to that about 80% aspect of their ability. And I find that if people are living their life any higher than 80%, there's not enough room to grow during a growth phase. And if you're below 80%, you're not experiencing the fullness of your life. And there's an ease of us at 80% with that pace that we find makes a lot of sense. So we do that with executives one-on-one, but we also have the system that can be coached to the leader, but trained to the team. So we do a double whammy when we work with these larger organizations to make sure that it's sustainable, that it's self-implemented, and that it actually works.
Yeah, that's awesome. That's really fascinating that you're helping them to get to the 80% in reference to potential. So, when you're working with leaders, where is the biggest challenge that you find? Is it like in reference to the developing systems, or
Mhm.
is it the mindset piece?
Yeah. So what I've come to find, and Chet Holmes said this in The Ultimate Sales Machine. It's an old book.
Oh yeah.
Chet was just if you were into personal development back when it was really really good, like the original kind of stuff coming through up until that the more recent stuff that kind of gets out pre-internet junk, we'll say that way. Chet was one of the guys that I always loved listening to. And he said something in that book. He said that systems are not hard to create. It's who can actually follow through with them. That's really the part that's really challenging with the system. So to answer your question, it is mindset. And here's why. The average leader would call themselves a high performer. Now, I found that there's four types of performance. There are four levels of performance. There's lazy and unaware, which sometimes we find those. There's high potential. There's high performers, but then there's a fourth level that no one talks about. This is all we focus on. It's how do we get these high performers to what we call optimal performers. So there's a difference between high performance and optimal performance. High performance, high output, unsustainable pace compared to others. That's basically like saying I'm the fastest slow person, therefore I'm fast. I'm not impressed by that. Optimal performance, high output at a sustainable pace compared to one's own ability. I want to get everyone to optimal performance. Once we get to optimal performance, if you still can't hit the goals and the metrics we need to get to, you're in the wrong position. Whether you're the CEO of the company or you're the entry level person coming in, I feel it's our responsibility, and we've learned this with working in some of these large organizations, is to help equip our people to experience optimal performance. And then we can figure out, is it a good fit or not?
Yeah, interesting. I know we're going to get deeper into that specifically around mindset, but many leaders think that they can thrive under pressure. Like, you've heard that term, I'm sure, many times, right? Thriving under pressure or chaos. I like, more chaos. Actually, I work better under stress.
Yep.
Those statements. So, what's hidden cost to actually have that type of mindset?
Yeah. And there's a great study that was done of why zebras don't get ulcers. Sounds crazy, but you're going to remember it and go look it up. The concept of it was they were tracking zebras' heart rates. Heart rates when a lion would come. You got to think, what's a zebra's job? It's two things: you eat and you don't die. Like that's all they do all day long. They eat and they don't get eaten. When they're sitting there just kind of chewing and grazing on the grass, their heart is at a ridiculously low resting rate. The second that lion jumps out at them, it flies to the 200 beats per minute. Blood hits every part of the muscle and they run away. It's about 15 seconds after they're safe that they go right back to grazing as if nothing happened. We as humans hold on to that. We don't let it go. So we stress is part of our natural being, and chaotic situations we act in a certain way, but we're in constant chaos. And that is not sustainable. So sure, could you do it? Yeah, but just because it works doesn't mean it's wise. And I tell every client I work with is like, look, I get that it's worked for you, but there's a reason you called me. Is because what you're doing is not actually working. Yeah, it's getting the results, but there's a better way to do it. And that's what we work on. We don't teach people what to do. We show them how to do what they already know they should do. So we try to tweak that out. So to answer your question, it's a mindset. It's a mindset because we have taught our bodies, and just from a personal experience,
Yeah.
I learned, my body has learned to function at fight mode all the time. Well, the problem is I don't experience trauma the way that the average person does. I have a daughter, Natalie. She has an extremely rare condition, and because of that, there's multiple times where she has literally been pronounced dead and come back to life. Now, I'm not sharing that to get oohs and ahs. I'm sharing that because I track my heart rate. Because when those things happen, I found that my heart rate doesn't change. Now, for some, you're like, "Wow, that's pretty cool." No, it's not. That's that grinded at mentality. That's a bad sign. If my heart rate doesn't change when my daughter is dying or nearly dying, that's a problem. So, because of that, I need to make sure I'm consciously bringing myself out of fight mode and consciously bringing myself out of chaos mode. Because although mentally I don't feel the pain, but the physically trauma, what it does to your body, it's going to shorten your lifespan. So, it will eventually catch up to you. The question is when. Do you want to be in front of it or do you want to be sitting out there in the ocean and getting smacked by a wave and not ready for it? Either way, it's going to end in a way that you don't want it to. I suggest get in front of it versus being surprised when it comes from behind you.
So, what are some tactics that you use with leaders
Yeah.
to embrace the mindset?
Yeah. So, first off, is the fact that just because it works, it's not wise. So, our goal is to be wise, not just to get random results. Also, it's about the process, not just the end result. Our culture has taught us it's all about the end result. And yes, at the end of the day, results are what matters. But I want to see how you can sustainably get those results, not just a one off lucky shot. I'm going to bust my butt here, or I'm going to put all my stuff into work here and sacrifice my family over there. And then what's going to happen is in a year, 5 years, 10 years, you're going to rehire me to come fix the family issue. And then we're going to lose the work. Like we can't have these pendulum swings that people have. So there's a couple ways to do it. The first thing we do is we talk about the LP structure of success. So it's daily action, weekly planning, monthly review, quarterly reset, annual retreat. And we do that every single year in all four areas of our life: internal, physical, relational, professional. I'm going to start right now on more of kind of the weekly planning all the way to the quarterly reset because those are the two biggest ones that I think set the stage. The other ones, daily action, that makes sense. Monthly review, just see what you're doing, that makes sense. And annual retreat. The weekly plan is a specific system we use that allows you to use what we call reverse planning. So, reverse planning is a simple model that debunks the way we planned our whole life. The way most people plan, they make a to do list, they do the to do list. That's their plan. That's not planning, that's making a list. Planning requires a strategy. So, if there's no strategy, you're not planning, you're just making a list. We use that reverse planning, and what it works on is first you list out all the things you want to do this week, and we only do it a week at a time. Then we list out what commitments have you made and what needs to happen this week. And then finally, you only do what is actually important. And what is important is what is related to a goal of yours. So that's kind of the reverse planning. Everything we do here is all about building your intentional week. That's one of the books that we wrote. Building out your intentional week and understanding why are there 7 days in a week and how do we leverage that? The reason why is because a month is too long and a day is too short. So we focus on the week. So that's the weekly planning. The quarterly reset is because in 90 days, that is the most efficient and effective cycle of days for us to stay focused on a task. After that, we want to reset it, reset our goals, recalibrate where we're going, and then move back in the direction we want to go. So we set up what we call a 90-day goal rush, where we take 3 personal goals, 3 professional goals. We set it up in a very unique system. The way we do our goals are called value-based gap goals, which combines a whole bunch of different techniques to make it actually enhance the likelihood of you achieving it. And then we break it down into monthly, weekly, and what we call push tasks. So action items you're going to take along the way. Once we set that system for you, which seems complex, but is extremely simple when we do it with you, then we just have phone calls and keep finding out what are the roadblocks you're running into and how do we move them out of the way to keep the progress moving. So that's the two
Interesting.
technical sides that we do. But the philosophy behind what we do is what we call perpetual development. So Perpetual development. It's something that we've developed and we've not developed. We just kind of discovered and put it together. There's no new foundations, no new fundamentals. At this point, if you find someone who's actually making up something that is 100% new, I'd be amazed, right? We're all piecing things together that we know and have seen work. Perpetual development is when you combine intention and structure to get the desired outcome. The way I define intention is the purpose behind any goal. The way I define structure is a defined, repeatable process towards achievement, right? That towards achievement is a key thing. You combine those two, the intention is the reason you go after the goal. You combine that with the structure, which is the repeatable process, and that structure needs to re engage that intention. And what will happen is you'll get this circle where the intention goes to the structure backs to the intention, and you'll get what we call perpetual development. When we have meetings or on sites or annual retreats, whatever we do with our clients, every individual has the intention at the moment to do what they said they were going to do. Then what happens? Time. And as time comes in without structure, you're not going to get what you want. So we take intention and structure, and those are the bookends. And then we take whatever topical issue you're running into, if it's leadership, communication, change management, whatever I call them the Amazon top 10, right? Whatever the top 10 topics are right now, that is what we focus on. But we have to have intention and structure. And then the topical part that we teach, you could read a book on that and implement whatever's in a book using that bookmark of intention and structure.
Interesting. So, what simple habits then have the biggest impact for that freedom and productivity that you just described?
Yeah. So the simplest habits, there's two of them that I'll pick out. Number one, you plan your life 1 week at a time. We call it 7-day planning, right? So what I mean by that is you are going to be planning 7 days at a time. Sunday, Monday, whatever makes sense on that, you are going to plan the way we're talking about. The next thing you're going to want to do is you're going to want to make sure that you are rolling through every single night and doing what we call PTT, plan tomorrow today. So the night before you go to bed, you plan out your next day. The reason we do that is your brain will do whatever it can to protect you. And what I mean by protect you, it's the concept of survivalism. Your brain does not forget things because your brain will keep thinking about it because it doesn't want you to forget it the next day. Because of that, that's why it's hard to sleep when you have big things going on. So outside of gaining an extra 15 hours of productivity every week when they use this system, one of the things that clients always tell me, they're like, I haven't slept in so long. I can go to sleep knowing my thoughts and what I have to do is in a place that is safe. And all of a sudden, my brain can shut off. I can disconnect. I can forget about things because I don't have to remember them. And that's the issue in this non disconnecting world. It's not that the job's causing you to not disconnect, it's you aren't making the intentional step to do so.
Fascinating. You mentioned a statistic of a result that you achieve. Did you say you gained 15 extra
Yeah.
hours in your productivity?
So we say it's the reports back from our clients. We everything we do, we track with metrics. And I think anyone in this industry who's like, oh, we can't really track metrics, I get a little cautious of because you can. Now they're anecdotal, right? They're based off people's feedback. But yeah, they say an extra 15 hours of productivity every single week. And where they get that from is 5 days of working. They're getting about an extra 2 hours of work done every single day in the work week. And I kind of extrapolate that out. An extra 15 hours a week is about an extra month, about extra weekend every month, and about an extra month every single year. What would you do with an extra month every single year? And then the answer that everyone gets is like, oh man, I'd go on vacation. I'd spend time with my family. And I say, well, let me tell you something. Most likely, after maybe a year or two of those cycles, you would just have 13 months of the same thing. So when we teach how to get 15 hours, we need to also teach a system that re-engages that intention. Otherwise, we would be doing a disservice by giving you more time to do more of what you're already bothered by. We want to give you more time to do more of what you want while still getting the exact same results, having the margin to grow when you need so you're not at 100% and you're getting the results each and every single time based on whatever it is you're trying to do.
Yeah, fascinating. So, you also mentioned that you not only coach the leaders, but also making an
Mm-hmm.
impact within their teams.
Yeah.
I'm really curious in reference to, from a leader's perspective, a healthy structure to be able to lead their teams without feeling like they're micromanaging.
Yeah. So the way we do it is through self-discovery. And what I mean by that is when it comes to our approach, we call it a top-down, bottom-up approach. Meaning we are going to coach managers, train the team. If you don't, all you're doing is you're giving the leaders and the managers of your company another thing to do on their already overloaded schedule. So, when we started working with some of the larger organizations, what we found was the mistake in the culture world and the mistake in the personal and professional development world within the business. There's many mistakes in just the actual industry that I have problems with. But the biggest mistake was the fact that we don't put any of the ownership on the employees. When we come in and have a conversation, we flip the entire script. So, for example, it is not the company's job to bridge the gap to all of their employees. It's the company's job, in my opinion, is to properly equip all the employees so they can bridge the gap back to the company. I always tell people, think of your company or your team. If you're the leader, your team is the foundation. Now we need to figure out, how do we get Bob, Betty, and Sue to all realize, how do they bridge back to us? You can't bridge to everybody, but you can be the foundation for everyone to bridge to. That whole mindset shifts everything. The second thing we realized was we were getting calls from, companies, Google and Twitter and the United States Air Force and all these different organizations, and they would say, "Hey, we got a problem. Your system can solve it. Can you come in and talk?" So I would go, "All right, what's your problem?" And one had workload issues, one had communication issues, one had work-life balance issues. These are all things that actually came across our table. Well, we offered the exact same system to them. How does that work? And that's when we realized we had a business. We didn't have a business before that. We had a system we were using within our companies, and we just shared it with friends, and that's how we got those connections. But what happens is the average person is doing what I call symptomatic solutions. They're solving for the symptoms. They're saying, "Hey, communication is an issue. Can you come help me teach my people about how to communicate?" Your people know how to communicate. They're just not doing it, right? Like, it's not a skill issue, it's a choice issue, it's a mindset issue. So what we do is we don't teach people what to do, we teach people how to do it. When you're solving for symptoms, it would be like, Warren, if I came in with a broken arm and I had my bone sticking out of my arm and I said, "Warren, my arm really hurts. Can you help me?" What those managers and those leaders are doing is they're giving me pain meds thinking it's going to solve the problem. Now, it will release the pain for a short time. But what really needs to happen is the bone has to get reset, which hurts a little more sometimes than it was when it was broken. And then you put a cast on it. And amazingly enough, when it's equipped properly, it heals itself. I found that humans are the exact same way. Whether I'm working with a group of one-on-one executive coaching, or I'm working with clients of 10 people, or I'm working with some of the companies that have 75,000 employees, same system, same option, same result. We have to equip the people to bridge the gap back to us.
Yeah, fascinating. So, what's the biggest obstacle that either the teams, the individual contributors face
Yeah.
trying to put that structure into place?
So I would say it's two different, right? So the individual coaching clients, the hardest thing to do is realize all they need to do is live out the system. They don't have to teach it, they don't have to preach it, they don't have to share it. They just need to build experience. And the reason I say that is because you can't argue experience. You can argue thoughts, you can argue ideas, but when I sit there and say, I use this system, I got this result, I don't care what generation they're in and what you want to say, Z's versus millennials, X's to boomers, they can't argue experience. So, because of that, we teach the people the content. I don't know if this is going to work. Let me tell you how it's worked for me. So, all the leaders are, when we work with them, is a walking, talking, breathing example of what works, but they have to follow through with it. Now, what's the obstacle when it comes to the individuals? It's so simple. They don't want to admit it will solve what they've been saying is a very complex problem.
Hmm. Interesting.
Complex and complicated are two different things. Complicated is something that is hard. This is hard. It's hard to overcome our own selfish desires and feed ourselves versus serve where we should. That's hard. It's not complex. It's extremely simple, actually. It's called a choice. It's not a condition we're dealing with. These are choices. So, how do we get people to make choices? Sorry. The way you get people to make choices is by show them proof of concept. So during our teaching, they're walking through exercises that are setting their weeks up and showing them they're not as busy as they think they are. Their problems aren't all at work. In fact, there's kind of the same problem in all areas of my life. Therefore, there's a common denominator. And wait a minute, maybe if I took my wife or husband out on a date once a month and we were in a better spot there, I'd be able to do my job better. Wait a minute, actually, physically, I'm just tired because I'm not taking care of myself. So turns out when you actually look at it, the average person, the only thing that's stable in their life outside of an entrepreneur like us, the only thing that's stable in your life is your job. Everything else is crazy. Marriage, finances, kids, mental well-being. There's very The job is the easiest part, but yet what does everyone blame? The job. So we walk in, break that paradigm very, very quickly. We don't make them admit it to us, but we break it. They recognize it. Now, all of a sudden, this concept of grace comes into the company, and people start remembering they're working with people. And when you realize you're working with another person, not just another employee or an employer, you start actually engaging in a way that hits that optimal level.
Wow, that's very fascinating in reference to the angle and perspective that you're offering the organization in reference to taking a different perspective or different point of view to deal with the challenge.
Yeah. And people, especially the Gen Zs, people live up to the bar you set. They want to be pushed. That's where fulfillment comes. Like that's what people don't realize. Like the catering enabling mindset that we have where we feel sorry, where we feel that you're offering something and you need to make sure, oh, please don't quit. Like that's kind of how bosses and leaders work now. Like, hope this person doesn't leave. No, the mindset has to switch. And when you do that, it takes less on the manager. Hey, here's all we're offering. All we're offering is work. And with work will come pay. That's all we're offering. If you're expecting more out of this, then we need to have a conversation. Now, please understand me. That does not mean you don't take care of your people. It does not mean you don't value culture. What I'm telling you is that is what will build the right culture, is reminding yourself of who you are. You are not an amusement park. You don't need the next kegerator so you can have the best happy hours. Actually, you can have all those masked up happy hours, is what I call them, that mask the terrible work environment you have, and you're not going to get the results you want. Honesty, clarity, and the concept of being kind and not nice, right? Nice people, basically, if I had my fly down, a nice person wouldn't laugh at me, but a kind person would awkwardly come up and go, hey, Matt, your fly's down. That's the difference between leadership through kindness and leadership through niceness. We don't need nice. We need kindness. We need honesty and we need clarity. And that is what we push on every single leader. And how do we do that? The leaders themselves have to know who they are. They have to have a system in place that combines intention and structure. And they have to have the margin, which is key, in order to handle the uncertainty, the unknown, and that variable that we call people. Because I tell people all the time, people aren't the problems. People have problems, and that's why you have people problems.
Wow, fascinating approach. So I know success leaves clues, and I think one of those clues are the books that leaders read. Do you have one or two books that have really impacted your
Yeah.
business?
So I would say growing into this thing, I was a self growth junkie. So I got all the
Mhm.
originals, right? Think
Okay,
and Grow
yeah.
Rich, How to Win Friends, Influence People. Uh, if you were to ask me what's like the newest book that I would ever suggest someone read, it's probably still Atomic Habits.
Oh, wow, that's a great book,
It's a
right?
great book. It was a new book, but it's an older
Yeah.
book now. But it's just that to me is one of the most eye-opening books if you're in that area. But the reality of it is all those books I read, what happened was it all pushed me back to principles from the Bible. And I'm saying this not to make a religious statement, and I don't mind if you're bothered by that, but that's not the point of it, is that there are principles since the beginning of time that transcend time, transcend the culture and society, but are truths that are sustainable. That if you can open that book up and understand the true biblical principles and the truths that come of that, leadership becomes very, very simple when you realize it is about caring for others, doing what you say, and making sure you are helping equip or edify is the word, build the other people up around you so they can do their part, not consistently trying to lift them up and hold them up over your head. It's the biggest mistake I find. So there's some books, take it for what you want, but that's what
Yeah,
I
that's
found
awesome.
has been the biggest eye opener when it comes to growing and successful communication and growth amongst people.
Yeah, excellent. Thank you for sharing those insights, Matt, in reference to where you've gained your wisdom and imply the wisdom as well. Because
Yeah.
someone can read it, but the implementation is the key.
Absolutely. And I always tell people, I always love that question because if I ask you, hey, what do you read? I'm like, I don't read any books. I can't copy that. I can't learn. That's a natural skill. I don't want natural skills. People tell me all the time, if I was as, organized as you, man, I'd have a planner. And I'm going, you don't realize it's because I'm a train wreck. I have a planner. like without a planner and a system and combining attention and structure, I'm like a car without a route. I'm just driving around aimlessly. And if I don't have the intention, I'm like a route without a vehicle, which is missed opportunity. It's a disaster not having those two things bookend intention and structure. And it's
Yeah.
because of the mess that I am. I need those.
So, what's one piece of advice that you can share our leaders
Yeah.
of how they can really overcome their obstacles? So, if that's around productivity or mindset, what
Yeah.
other obstacle they're faced? What would you tell our listeners?
I would say recognize what we call the 80-20 principle of planning. And what that is 80% of your life you can plan, 20% you can't. However, if you don't take care of the 80, the 20 feels like 100. My daughter, Natalie, like I said, she's got a rare medical condition. So when she gets sick, she's in the hospital for a decent amount of time. I can't not take care of the 80% I can control because my 20% gets really wild really fast. But so does everyone else's. So don't try to control all of it. Get the 80 taken care of. It's not if the 20 come, it's when the 20 comes. But when your 80% is taken care of, those 20 doesn't feel as bad. When your 80% is not taken care of, that 20% feels like 100. That's what overwhelm is. It's not real, but it's emotionally aware. And because of that, when my daughter gets sick, my business has a problem, or emergencies happen, if my 80% is taken care of, I can handle them. If my 80% is not taken care of them, those are the times that I am in the worst position possible. And it's not the severity of the situation, it's the lack of preparation on my end of what I can control.
Yeah, excellent. Well, I know our listeners are going to want to be able to connect with you. What is the best way for them to be able to reach out?
Yeah, so you can reach out directly through Instagram at Life Pulse Inc. LinkedIn is a big one. And then also what I'll do is I'll create just like a quick URL that will be lifepulseinc.com/OB for obstacle buster, but just OB. And I'll share, like I said, some of the stuff that we talked about and some free tools that people can use to access whenever they
Perfect.
want.
Yeah, excellent. I'll make sure that all those links are in the show notes.
Cool. That's awesome,
So,
man.
any special projects that you're working on?
We actually are working on building out a coaching community right now that's been a lot of fun, where it's a group coaching concept because we are able to do live coaching and do what we call precision pulse sessions. So we go into uh, boards, or we go into leadership teams, or we go into business organizations, YPO, EO, things like that. And we allow the individuals to share all the issues they're running into, and we customize a 60-minute presentation based on what that group's situations are on how to overcome these people problems. So that's been a lot of fun being able to go in. It's super challenging for me and the other coaches that we work with, but it's super rewarding because we get a real feel of what's happening in the industry. Like sometimes when you're in our position, you build a system and you kind of sit on that system and you never test it again in the industry to find out what else is going on. So we're able to go in all different industries. So the OPC, the Optimal Performance Coaching Group, that's super enjoyable because we're able to do it and see what other people are dealing with. But the newest and latest project is our Precision Pulse session, where we go in and it's like a live conversation with what are you running into and here's how you address it. It's been really, really fun.
Yeah. Well, excellent. Well, thank you for your time, Matt. I appreciate all your insights, sharing with our listeners how to overcome those obstacles and really break through them so they can achieve success.
Appreciate it very much. Everything you're doing, Warren. Thank you.
Well, thank you. This is your host, Warren Wandling, saying until next time, be an obstacle buster and be resilient.